Welcome to your Weather Impact Extended Weekend Forecast, exclusively here on 13 WMAZ+. I'm meteorologist Alex Pry. Each week, we're taking an in-depth look at your forecast ahead, along with giving you an inside look of what we're up to on the weather team. Let's jump right into it. Kicking it off with Future View, what does the weekend ahead hold for us? And it does look like we have a slim chance of rain, an emphasis on that slim. We are going to have another weak frontal boundary that's going to pass through. Obviously not going to cause the widespread implications that we saw early on Wednesday morning. This one doesn't have as much moisture to work with. However, as it does continue to push south, it's going to kind of stall halfway across central Georgia. And what that's going to do, it's going to create kind of a fine dividing line. There's going to be a little bit of moisture up here, virtually no moisture, honestly, I really should say. It's going to be very dry behind the passage of that frontal boundary, but areas to the south of it are still going to hold on to the little bit of moisture that we do have. So the farther south that you live, later on Friday afternoon into the evening, that's when you're still looking at some minuscule rain chances, although it's really just probably going to be a very brief drizzle or a sprinkle if you do see anything. So mostly dry for the kickstart of your Memorial Day weekend. We've checked that box. What's in store for Saturday, the second day? You will see some scattered rain chances up to the north of us, and we could see some of those creep into our northernmost counties, mainly north of Macon, during the morning hours on Saturday. However, still most of the afternoon on Saturday does look nice and dry. Most of the rain does remain to the north or to the west of us as it does currently stand. So we checked off Saturday, Friday and Saturday looking very good for your Memorial Day weekend forecast. Now we go overnight into early Sunday morning. Now, as of the last couple of model runs, it has showed some clusters and maybe some showers, even some thunderstorms passing through, but it doesn't really look like that gets going maybe until the early morning hours on Sunday, although not too sure if I do want to believe this because this is going to fluctuate, number one, with each individual model run that we do get. Also, this is in the overnight hours when our temperatures are a little bit cooler, so seeing activity kind of flare up during the cooler portion of the day doesn't really align with kind of what I'm thinking meteorologically. You need the warmer temperatures, you need some humidity present. So that remains to be seen if that's actually going to happen. But once we get into the daytime hours on Sunday, I do believe at least some of the scattered rain is going to creep into some of our counties, whether it's to the north, south, east, west. The location of it is really up to anyone's best guess. Just keep an eye on that radar as you are heading out the door for any outdoor plans into the tail end of your Memorial Day forecast. Now we flash forward all the way to Sunday afternoon. Now this is aligning with kind of seeing that rain pop up out of nowhere because our temperatures will be warming. The humidity is going to rebound ever so slightly. So some scattered showers, even some thunderstorms are looking to be possible, not only here in central Georgia, but maybe across the entire state as we go into your Sunday evening. So we checked off Friday and Saturday as good days for outdoor plans. Sunday is a day that you're going to need some caution, and definitely if it gets a little bit messy outside, obviously head indoors, and then that will propel us into your Memorial Day Monday, which we'll pick up with on your extended forecast. So we are in one severe weather outlook as it does stand, a day 3 outlook, and this goes for all of central Georgia. This just means that some of those clusters of dark reds and oranges that you did just see could be a strong or maybe even a severe thunderstorm with some gusty winds and even some small hail going to be possible. Very similar to the potential threats that we've seen with recent systems that have passed through and that scattered rain potential. So this once again will be for Sunday starting at 8 a.m. and going all the way till 8 a.m. on your Memorial Day Monday. These outlooks change couple times each and every day. So like I say, each and every time I come on here and show you one of these outlooks, be sure to stay updated with David Guerrero and Ansley Parker over the course of this weekend for any changes to this and the end of your Memorial Day weekend forecast. So your weekend outlook, highs in the mid 80s for Friday, going to be one of the cooler, I guess you could say, days that we do have for the next 7 days. However, high temperatures in the mid 80s, still a relatively warm day. Thankfully, it's still paired up with some mostly dry air across most areas of central Georgia. We do have some rain chances starting to get introduced into Saturday night, excuse me. So I do believe the best chance at seeing rain on Saturday would be the nighttime hours into the overnight hours. Before that, we will see temperatures that are going to climb into the upper 80s and then maybe even flirting with 90 throughout the heat of the day on Sunday before we start to get that scattered shower, maybe maybe even a thunderstorm chance. I highlighted the morning risk before the models did kind of fluctuate, so not necessarily too keen on that morning timing. We'll probably take that off the 7-day and your weekend outlook as we get closer and closer. But Sunday is looking to be the messier of the next 3 days for Memorial Day weekend. Be sure that you are staying diligent to the latest forecast and, of course, trying to push any outdoor plans to your Friday or Saturday. So talking about the humidity, this is number one, obviously going to influence what the temperature feels like outside. When you start to get into the 90s, you have a little bit of humidity present. It makes those 90s feel a couple degrees warmer. So that's one reason why we look at this Muggy meter, but it also helps correlate with some of the stronger weather chances. So we will see a little bit of an uptick by Sunday, but still dew point temperatures maybe hovering in the comfortable range, starting to get back into this light green color, which means there's a noticeable humidity, not extra swampy like up here in the dark green, but we do see the humidity steadily rebound as we go all the way until the midweek of next week. And it does look like maybe we could see an uptick in those dew point temperatures for Sunday, just given what the latest Future View run did just look like. But it's a busy weekend all across Central Georgia, not only for Memorial Day weekend, but it's also graduation weekend for almost all of our Central Georgia high schools. So first off, congratulations to all of you graduates. You worked very hard and you absolutely did earn it. We have graduations going on all throughout the course of Friday and Saturday. I believe some may even be on Sunday. And the good news is most are probably going to be on Friday and Saturday, where it's great weather, it's mostly dry. You may run into an isolated light shower or two, but it's going to be very brief, like I mentioned earlier. Sunday is looking a bit messy, so if there are any graduations that are in the afternoon on Sunday, maybe into the evening hours, probably a good plan to make plans to move those indoors, hopefully not have them outside on the football field. But graduation weather with high temperatures in the 80s, that's definitely one of the better case scenarios. I've mentioned it a couple times throughout the past week or so. My high school graduation was about 95 outside, felt more like the triple digits, and we were inside in the AC. However, I'm hoping most areas do the same, and they will make it a comfortable environment to watch your special someone walk across that stage. But Memorial Day weekend, not only a busy day weather-wise that people are paying a lot of attention to the weather, also a big weekend on the roads. So Friday, mainly in the afternoon hours, getting into the evening hours, expecting some heavy traffic for lots of folks heading out of town for the 3-day weekend. Saturday, maybe some people getting a early start to the day on Saturday morning. We'll still see some moderate congestion on the roads between 3 and 7 o'clock. Sunday actually going to be a pretty good day to travel. So maybe if your schedule's aligning differently and you're pushing your Memorial Day holiday to later into next week, it's actually going to be a good day to travel on Sunday. Now, the GDOT graphic that we've been showing all throughout our shows the past couple of days has said light traffic on Monday too. I've kind of just used my own knowledge and my own guessing for this. I do believe there's going to be heavy traffic. It's the last day of a 3-day weekend. Most people are going to be heading back into town from wherever they were traveling before. And also, Monday is actually looking to be fairly wet in nature. So we'll have plenty of wet roads and, of course, need to take it a little bit slower, allow for maybe an hour or two extra if you are heading back into town so you get back at a reasonable time. And then the traffic does go back down into your typical traffic and light traffic as we head into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday next week. So Friday and Monday, just really the days that you want to give yourself a little bit more time on the roads, and also Saturday, where we still could see some folks heading out of town. But a big weekend for grilling, and I think Friday and Saturday are going to be absolutely amazing days for a Memorial Day weekend cookout. Go ahead and fire up the grill for both days. You see the green spatulas right there. Have some caution on Sunday. Kind of play it by ear, see what the weather's looking like outside. If you definitely have to be outside for an extended period of time, maybe throwing a brisket on the Traeger or any kind of smoker that you do have, that's going to require you to be outside kind of for an extended period of time. So obviously we want to refrain from that as we are looking at these rain chances and even storm chances to be of the pop-up nature. So you could be good 1 hour and then the next hour everything starts to get a little bit messy. So like I said, just have a little bit of caution. But it's also a big weekend for the pools. Temperature is going to be absolutely amazing. Friday and Saturday, amazing days for the pool. But Sunday and Monday, like I said, same case with your grill cast. A little bit iffy. Temperatures maybe not as warm as they typically are on Memorial Day weekend. A little bit cooler, sometimes even below that average high of 88 degrees for this time of year. But if you are to start to flirt with the 90s and we have a little bit of humidity in the forecast and starting to feel a little bit swampy outside, a jump in the pool is definitely going to be a good way to cool down. Scattered showers and maybe a storm, that mainly possible Sunday and also into Memorial Day Monday itself. And that's, of course, when the winds would get a little bit gustier than 15 miles per hour. And that would be an isolated area that has a strong or even a severe storm. That would be the case. Sunset this weekend going to be at 8:33 p.m. I've got another about month until that first day of summer, that longest day of the year. Let's see how close we can get this sunset to the 9 o'clock hour. That's something that I definitely do enjoy myself. So for all of that I did just tell you, what should you wear and what will you need this weekend for any outdoor activities? Each afternoon, go ahead and have the tank top, the short sleeves, the shorts, the swim trunks, flip-flops, all that we'll have suitable weather for that, rather I should say. Sunglasses are going to be something that you want, and especially this guy right here, the SPF, the sunscreen. That is going to be something that you need to continue to apply and reapply throughout the course of this weekend, especially during those periods that are mostly sunny. And maybe even if you catch a shower and it does get a little bit cloudy outside, don't think that you're good from putting sunscreen on for the rest of the day, because it can clear up just as quick as it did get a little bit dark outside. Continue to stay hydrated as well. Even though temperatures aren't as warm as they could be, they are still going to be on the warmer side. And just in case, you're mainly going to need that Sunday and Monday, a rain jacket and an umbrella, maybe even some rain boots. However, I do believe a rain jacket and an umbrella will cover it. Most people are probably not going to spend too much time outside as it is getting a little bit messy. So something that we'll talk about here in just a little bit, hurricane season starting on June 1st. That's getting to be nearly a week away. But before we get there, we were talking about that air that you can wear, that humidity. Yes, you can dread from it, you can run from it, but Destiny is going to arrive all the same. And Destiny in this case is that humid weather, which can make the heat feel even more unbearable at certain times. But why here in central Georgia are we more humid than other locations across the country? Meteorologist Ansley Parker explains.
It's back, that dreaded word that we tend to use so much, especially here in the South, humidity. And with summer just around the corner, it's only going to be getting more humid. So let's talk a little bit more about why it does get so humid here in the South and specifically here in Georgia. It's got more to do with that thing we keep talking about, the jet stream, that ribbon of fast-moving air in the upper atmosphere. Now, the jet stream tends to move north and south depending on the seasons because of the temperature gradient between the poles and the equator. So during the summertime, that temperature gradient is not so intense because the poles are warm and so is the equator. So the jet stream moves further towards our north and doesn't push a whole lot of weather systems through our area, which means we tend to sit under high pressure systems a whole lot, and that just locks in really warm and really moist air in our area. Not only that, but we also have the influence of the Gulf, so that continues to kind of filter in humidity into our area. But we always sit near the Gulf, so why in the world is humidity so much worse in the summertime than it is in the wintertime? Well, warmer temperatures like those upper 90s, near 100-degree values that we get here in Georgia, they tend to be able to support a whole lot more moisture, so things can just be a whole lot more humid here in the summer in Georgia. So hopefully that gives you just a little more of an understanding of the seasonality of humidity here in the South. And buckle up, because we got a whole lot more humidity coming our way as we approach the summer months. I'm meteorologist Ansley Parker, and that's this week's Weather IQ.
Got a little ahead of myself back there just a minute ago, but yes, hurricane season starting on June 1st. That's going to be coming up on a Sunday, so that will be next Sunday past this weekend. But not only is the humidity approaching, obviously this hurricane season is as well. And this past week, we got another prediction for what's to come in the Atlantic over the next couple of months. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. So for the 2025 hurricane season, you typically see your tropical storms, your hurricanes, and even your major hurricanes. And that's the things that we try to see what the average is and compare it to years of past. So average hurricane seasons typically see about 14 named tropical storms. So that's going to be your A through almost Z letterings. We have a couple letters that are left out of that list of names. 7 named hurricanes, which means the winds are going to get to 74 miles per hour in speed, the sustained winds. So that's what the winds are constantly blowing at, or they are going to be greater than that. And then major hurricanes are going to be your Category 3, Category 4, and Category 5 storms. We typically see about 3 of those in a typical hurricane season. Now, we talked about it about a month ago. Colorado State, they typically release a hurricane season forecast, and this is what they predicted for this year: 17 named storms, 9 named hurricanes, and then 4 of which are going to be major hurricanes. So that obviously already goes above average for what we typically see in a hurricane season. But the good news is it does fall below the threshold and below the numbers that we did see as of last hurricane season, which was a very active one. So now we got another hurricane season forecast, another outlook from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. They have given us some ranges, so they haven't given those set numbers per se, but you can see this range of tropical storms, these named storms that we see, 13 to 19 according to NOAA, hurricane-wise 6 to 10, and then major hurricanes 3 to 5. And obviously it's kind of hard to nail down. That's a very large range. We could have a below average season, or we could have a well above average season from the bottom end of that range to the upper end of the range. But I do want to highlight that most of these numbers that you see for average and that are predicted by Colorado State are more so on the lower side of these ranges, I guess I would say. Definitely only seeing average 14 named storms and 13 at the beginning of that range by NOAA. It does look like it is going to be an above average season because it looks like most of that range is falling above that threshold, just above average. So taking a look at the season probability, what are the chances that we do have an above or normal or even a below average season? You'll see this pie chart that the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration did draw. You'll see 60, 30, and 10. So what do those shaded areas mean? Well, the 60% is a chance of an above average season. So it's still looking likely, and we kind of have this setup where it is shaping up to maybe be an above average season, but that could just be one number above all those average marks I did just show you. There is a 30% chance of seeing a near normal season. So there is still a fairly good chance. I mean, 30%, obviously not as much as 60%, of seeing kind of all those average numbers pan out, but it is looking like a slim chance of seeing a below normal season at only about 10%. And this is mainly due to the factor of we kind of have that absence of El Nino, which normally kind of inhibits the tropical development stage, and obviously those sea surface temperatures are going to be very warm as we head into the summertime months. But we keep talking about June 1st, hurricane season starting. That doesn't mean it's going to be tropical system after tropical system as soon as it hits June 1st. Actually, the frequency of seeing those tropical storms and hurricanes does peak a lot later in the season. So we have to get those warmer temperatures once we get into the summertime months. It takes a little bit of time for those sea surface temperatures to warm up. So you will see this yellow shaded area. That's going to be just your hurricanes, but hurricanes and tropical storms, obviously the frequency goes up a little bit for that. And you will see that this peak timing is actually going to fall on September 10th. So we have a long ways to go before we're getting right into the peak of hurricane season, when kind of off the coast of Africa, they're just spitting them out left and right. The beginning of the season right here, you see the frequency of them, and you can see tropical systems form before June 1st, but we've been looking at the outlooks from the National Hurricane Center. Nothing has a chance of developing as it does stand right now. But as we head throughout July and closer to August, that's when we're going to see activity start to increase. I'll have to go back and do some looking about when the average first date that we do see a tropical storm is, but it's probably sometime more so closer later to July. So just because we're kicking off hurricane season doesn't mean there's going to be a bunch of storms that you need to look out for. It's really August, September, and into the beginning of October. That's kind of the peak timing for when we're really keeping our eye on the tropics before hurricane season officially does end on November 30th. But that was just some of the new information that we've gotten out. The weather team has been working very hard on a hurricane special, and now you are going to be able to watch it here now before hurricane season. So go on 13 WMAZ Plus, which you can download for free on your Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. But if you're watching me right now, good for you. You already have the 13 WMAZ Plus app. This hurricane special will be airing live at 8 p.m. on the 13 WMAZ Plus app, but you can go ahead and find it now. It's going to have you covered for absolutely everything that you need to know ahead of this year's hurricane season. Now let's take a look at the second half of your 7-day forecast and what's beyond that. We'll pick it up with the long-range models on Memorial Day Monday, and it is just looking like a downright mess as we go into next week. We could be dealing with one of those stalled boundaries like I was referring to in the short-term forecast, and that's just going to kind of propel system after system to give us rounds of on again and off again rain. The chances exist for Memorial Day Monday as well as for your Tuesday after that. And the rain chances mainly looking to pop up in the afternoon and evening hours, once again when our temperatures are warmest, and our humidity will be back in the forecast by then. Wednesday afternoon, maybe not the best coverage here according to this latest model run from the GFS and the European models. This is 5 p.m. Wednesday afternoon. It does look like most of the rain is all around us. We may hit a little bit of a lull before the next system does approach from the west, but it does look to make its presence known as we go into the end of next week. This is Thursday afternoon into the evening, and yes, still not getting rid of all of these splotches of green and blue all the way until Friday at 3 p.m. It is looking like it's going to be a pretty dreary setup as we head into the main portion of next week. So definitely go ahead and make the most out of a beautiful Friday and a beautiful Saturday for the first part of Memorial Day weekend before we start to see the rain chances trending upward into the end of Memorial Day weekend. So your afternoon highs, where are those going to stand? These are going to be very subject to change. You will see they're going to hover somewhere around average or maybe a couple degrees below. Not much change in these afternoon high temperatures, and they're all going to depend on how much sunshine that you do get. If you have cloud cover and you have rain in the forecast, then you very well may not even get to the 80s. You might be stuck with temperatures in the 70s because of this rain-cooled air, but you do see that average this time of year, 88 degrees, so getting very close to the average high temperature actually being the 90-degree mark, which we haven't seen terribly much over the course of the past couple of weeks, which no complaints by any means. But your morning lows are still going to hover somewhere in the mid to upper 60s because of the cloud cover and that rain-cooled air. Not going to see as wide as a temperature spread as we would see on a crystal clear day. Lows would probably dip somewhere around the low 60s, maybe even into the upper 50s, and then we would see those high temperatures get somewhere in the low, maybe even the mid 90s, about a 30 to 35 degree temperature spread, as opposed to maybe about a 15 or 20 degree temperature spread, and that would be overstretching it. These are definitely numbers that are going to go on the lowest end of the scale and the highest end of the scale, but it does look like we'll have our fair share of warm and humid starts to the day, starting Memorial Day Monday all the way through the midweek next week. But let's take it past your 7-day forecast, taking a look at your 8 to 14-day temperature outlook. So what kind of probability do we have of seeing above normal or below normal temperatures starting next Friday, May 30th, all the way into the first couple days of June? And we are in some blue shades, which means we're going to be on the left side of the scale. A little bit of probability that we are going to see temperatures below average, but below average now that we are continuing to see that high temperature climb. Like I said, probably about 90 degrees will be the average temperature as we get to this time period. Looking at temperatures maybe somewhere in the 80s, and we could maybe be looking at some morning low temperatures somewhere in the 60s. However, this is probably going to be in light because this precipitation outlook for the same time frame is correlating to a little bit of a good chance of seeing some above normal precipitation. We could see a pretty dreary stretch, so obviously that would keep the high temperatures down, not getting as much sunlight as we would during those crystal clear days. So now taking it to your rainfall graphic, we had another week with a couple rounds of rain, so we are still finding ourselves in the very wet category for the month of May. We got about almost an inch, about 0.8 of an inch, 0.9 of an inch of rain on May 18th, and then May 21st we got only about 0.2 of an inch of rain, not very much. That was kind of that thin line of showers and thunderstorms that did roll through, but it was packing a punch farther up to the north and was a lot more widespread. So adding those two totals to what we've already seen for the month of May, we've gotten just over 4.5 inches of rain so far in the month of May, and the average May rainfall that we typically see is just over 2.5 inches. So we're continuing to already be over 2 inches what we would finish the month of May with, not even including where we are at this point in May right now. And the record, almost 12 inches back in 1957. Every time I pull this graphic up, that's just a staggering number to look at. We're nowhere near record-breaking territory, so we're not in danger of any flooding per se. So taking a look at the month of May itself and how we shape up to it as of May 22nd. So that's going to be this past Thursday. Still hovering nearly 3 inches above where we should be at this time of the month in terms of rainfall. Now, obviously, if we get no rain for the rest of the month, we would hover near that number hover near about 2 inches above average for the month of May, but it's still looking like May is going to have a big green column on it after March and April were pretty minuscule, and January and February were pretty noticeable for being below average. And I may have to change the scale if we really get a lot of rain over the course of what looks to be a dreary setup on the way. This green box may get a little bit too high for the blue panel that I do have on this graphic. So we'll continue to update this and see how we fare compared to average for this time of year. But so far, we're hovering nearly about a ½ inch above average where we should be this time of year in terms of rain. Quite a flipping of the script from what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks on that graphic. So after telling you that we're above average, how much rain we've gotten in the month of May, you would guess it, no one's under any form of drought conditions here in central Georgia. We do have some abnormally dry areas just outside of us to the northeast around the Augusta area, and there is one to the south of us, not even too far south of us, probably around the Tifton area getting into Albany, but that's still kind of the lowest end of the scale for where you can get on that drought monitor. So looking ahead, Memorial Day weekend is going to be the big talk of the town, and everyone else that is happening this weekend, and of course graduations happening for your Friday and your Saturday, maybe some into the beginning of next week. Hurricane season on June 1st. Stop me if you've heard that before. I've talked a lot about hurricane season in this, but something else that June 1st is obviously the first day of the 6th month of the year, but it is the start of meteorological summer. So that's kind of trending ahead of the official first start of summer, which will be on June 20th, because most people are already starting to feel some of those warmer temperatures and humidity, especially if you live in the south and the southeast like we do here in central Georgia. And falling closer to the first day of summer, I was going to say right there in between. It is looking, or not is looking like Father's Day will be on June 15th. So a couple things to look forward to in the beginning of the month of June, as many of you are out of school now and heading into summer break. So be sure to be safe this summer and enjoy a wonderful first part of the weekend as we transition into a more dreary stretch that could be ahead. But obviously, I know many of you are probably just going to use this as an excuse and continue to play some video games while we are under this dreary stretch until the weather gets a lot nicer for any summertime activities. So that's going to do it for your extended weekend weather forecast. Be sure to tune in each and every Friday, along with each weekday at 10:30 for a look at what's ahead in depth and what we're up to on the weather team.